Coming from Weather Observation Station 12B on Utopia Planitia, Mars.
I'm Dave Ward.
And I'm James Nimmons, and this is PopSatellite.
So we actually got a semi-comfortable spot, and Mars isn't too bad.
No, it's just yellow this time of year.
Oh, yeah. So we've got a lot of stuff going on for in the past week.
Well, I mean, some of it might have gone on prior, but it's us finding it out about it in the past week. So we don't ever claim to be up to the minute.
Not totally, but I mean, everything we do talk about is still very recent.
Yeah, we try a little. Lucasfilm scrapping all of their spin-off developments. We don't know if that was because of their new leadership or, let's not play the blame game. What's the fact here is that all spin-off developments are being flushed. So why?
Because what they're doing is
no
they're
Boba Fett, no Obi-Wan.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. What they've done is they went and diluted what it was all supposed to be about for these last three movies, and they've tried to pump out as much as possible, and they have done a very shoddy job as far as the production and what people have wanted to see, or what they perceived of what people wanted to see. And people have not wanted to see it, and they have not.
I knew they would give us Star Wars fatigue once Disney took over.
Well, naturally. I mean, yeah, I saw it coming too. But, it's the same thing that's going to happen with the Marvel franchise. What they have control of is going to be run into the ground.
It's not made for you.
But, so that's the problem. The production value and the way they're cranking them out is so much that people don't... And it's not good stuff.
No.
They're not taking time, so that's why people are not going to see it, because it's bad.
And then they don't go see Solo because they think it'll be just as bad.
And it was actually decent.
It was actually good. And and then they call Solo a failure.
So then they
go,
terrible. Well, since Solo was a failure, everything else is going to fail, so we're just going to can it all.
No, just, give it back out just in dribs and drabs, not all at once. We don't need a Rogue One and a new Star Wars in the same, 2-year period.
Well, not only that, but you don't need... they're going to do the same thing with, like I said, with the Marvel. You can slow the development down some, give people something to anticipate, stop reaching in the weeds, stop pissing off actors and making them quit, whatever, just slow down. You make enough money on your whole entire franchise as it is. Stop.
I know I've said this before, but having the Last Jedi be basically the good guys take a serious ass whipping, and they're just good. They're okay with it. They're all smiling about it. That's not the way it's supposed to go.
No, it's not.
No, the good guys win because Star Wars movies are made for children.
Well,
but that's when we're going to get all adult and start teaching them real world stuff. The good guys don't always win.
Even George Lucas was like, this is a space opera. This is supposed to be like a giant giant 3-part space opera with 3 subplots, in each big part, So somebody lost their way at some point with these and forgot all that and tried to turn it into something different.
Sometimes when you make things by committee, you got to get the right people on the committee that love the project. Just like with the new Star Trek that we didn't like,
and
you can tell that it's written up by people who don't love Star Trek, don't love it enough to get into its rules and its expectations and stuff.
Something Scotty said in all things Star Trek 3, after he had sabotaged the Excelsior, and he handed McCoy the little bits of the pieces of computer, and he said something to the effect of, the more they improve the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. Yeah. And that sentiment rings true in just like everyday life, and it rings true with stuff like this as well. It's like, the more you improve it, the worse it gets. Stop with everything that you're doing and go back and completely rethink what you're trying to do, because right now it's awful.
Yeah. Well, speaking of improvements, I was reading about MIT has this experiment. They've done it on many different levels. It was discussed on a Joe Rogan podcast on another level. it's basically an experiment that proves that human brains are meant to be networked together.
Well, that's getting into some like Borg stuff right there.
Yeah, like though they've discovered a network that fires up in the temporal parietal region, the tempoparietal junction.
Tempoparietal junction.
Yeah, basically where you get TMJ,
Right.
or something above there. Because your parietal bones are higher up than your mandibular. Anyway, never mind. So at this junction, the network fires up.
The knee bone's connected to the ankle bone.
When you concentrate on the mental state of other people. So when you're wondering how other people are feeling, you're using a specific, we could call it an organelle, just a bunch of cells in your brain that seem to only work for that purpose. And then there's a pain matrix that fires up whenever you are trying to gauge others' pain. So it's like we're meant to be linked together in that respect, in that we've got these parts that are searching for information.
That almost seems like somebody is like taking some acid or something and like tried to do some kind of experiment.
Well, they took the experiment further. I don't have the details on that, but it was on this Joe Rogan podcast where the guy was talking about using 3 different people in 3 different rooms with magnetic sensors on their heads and some way, an ability to make a light flash in the person on the right, person on the left can make the guy in the center know which way to move a cursor on a screen by, just thinking about which way it should go. And so it sends a flash to the guy's brain, to his visual center. And
That's
something like
interesting.
that. Yeah, and he knows which way to move this easy-looking icon on the screen, probably.
That's some trippy out there stuff, though, for real.
Those networked brains.
That's like, every time I think about network brains, I just automatically think of the Borg.
Yeah, that's the ideal networked brains would be like the Borg, I suppose.
Yeah,
all sharing information, everybody knowing everything.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, no.
That's crazy.
No thanks. So, in some other news that has come across, well, actually, I since I'm friends with Adolfo on Facebook, this was actually something that's ongoing because of Facebook, and this is getting into that realm a little bit of the thought police and everybody knowing everything and whatever else that, if you have certain phrases or certain people come up, then all of a sudden you're looked at for either trying to be a terrorist or like a rogue political faction or something of the like. So what happened was Adolfo has been doing, of course, the Days of the Dead convention, really, really great horror convention, does a lot of cities throughout the year. And his Chicago show that's coming up in November, I believe it is. Let me pull this up and make sure, because I want to plug this really, really well. It's not like that. Here we go.
You find it?
Yeah, it's daysofthedead.com. Chicago is November 16th through the 18th. And it is at, let's see here, the Chicago Schaumburg Marriott, 50 North Martingale Road, Schaumburg, Illinois. So, what happened is Adolfo has booked one Jello Biafra of the Dead Kennedys fame, and immediately when he goes to share it with the event on Facebook, Facebook flags it because of who he has booked, and Facebook is investigating him for the next 10 days to make sure that he is not indeed one of these either rogue political factions or a terrorist because he booked Jello Biafra.
Well, Jello Biafra said all kinds of anti-government stuff before. Well, I never took him seriously.
Well, he's run for president, and he's also run for mayor of San Francisco.
But in the world where you have a lot of these punk rock based Antifa chapters, it's going to do things like this. It's going to create things like this.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Jello is actually smart. The dude has been around for a long time. He is old school punk. He knows,
of course,
he knows what's going on. And so, I can see why the U.S. government wants to keep an eye on him based on his history.
I don't think it was just him specifically. I think it was just him in general. Can people like him?
Well, not all, but the fact that the fact that Adolfo has had zero issue with any social media until now with anyone he's ever booked and sharing it, is ridiculous.
It raises an interesting question as to why Facebook would want to be cautious about a possible leftist.
I mean, really, it's
Facebook's
like, why
very
do you,
left. You
I
could
mean,
say all kinds of left-leaning stuff and not get in trouble.
He's not being booked for his political ideal.
No.
He's being booked for other reasons because he's an entertainer. Regardless of what political ideal he holds, everyone that's booked there has their own individual, political ideas. It's not
America?
About that.
This is the land where I can book whoever I like.
Yeah, exactly.
Facebook doesn't get a say in it.
I mean,
But
you're there as a
there's that
media
overreach.
I mean, yeah, you're there as a media source like Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram,
Like Facebook's going to
Pinterest.
find some sort of they're going to find some sort of spies coming in and save the world.
Coming from Mother Russia.
Something like that. You
Putin take us all over.
You're having Jello Biafra. Like you should be applauding that, because he seems to come down halfway on a lot of the SJW stuff.
Well, like I said, he's old school punk. He knows what's going on. He knows how to go about things. He's not some radical moron that's going to incite a citywide riot or anything because he got booked at a Days of the Dead in Chicago.
No.
He's there for other reasons.
He's probably going to do spoken word and tell the story about getting chased around the Kentucky Fried Chicken by a bunch of jocks. And I like that one. That's a good one.
I mean, any number of things other than, you look at Days of the Dead as a whole and never, ever, ever have I seen any sort of agenda being pushed.
Nope.
Ever.
Other than have a good time.
Other than come and meet your heroes and have a good time.
Have a good time.
Exact. That's it. That's the only agenda I have ever seen out of Days of the Dead, and that is all that will ever be of that convention. So, yes, if you're a horror fan and if you're anywhere around the country, because he does this all over the place, seriously.
Just go to daysofthedead.com and find the show nearest to you.
So he does Chicago. That's the last one this year, and then coming up in January, we will be at this one, January 25th through 27th in Atlanta at the Sheridan downtown.
If you'd like to see us or see what kind of adventures we have and have some like that.
then there's a little bit of a break. Then May in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the newest one, which was an outstanding hit last year. We had a blast out there.
Are we doing any panels at that one? I don't think so.
We just get press passes and just like
this one time at Con.
That's Con Nuga. That's in February.
That's gotten us places though.
Yeah, but in Indianapolis, Indiana, and Louisville, Kentucky as well. So I mean, if you're anywhere around the East or Midwest, then this is going to be a convention that you want to go to. Or if you're not in the area,
and it's not too big.
Make a plan to go, because seriously, this convention's awesome. And
I love it.
Extremely thankful for Adolfo and his entire group and everything for allowing us to come in every year, because we would go even without the press passes, but it's
where we get some of our best interviews.
Absolutely, every year.
Crowd reactions and stuff.
So yeah, we will sing their praises from now on, because along with Todd Patton with Con Nuga, it's been some of the best people towards us.
But now coming up is in December, Jekyll Island Comic-Con.
Yes, new family with Jekyll Comic-Con as well.
Around there.
The 3 years that we've been going down there has been outstanding as well.
Yeah, if you're around there, you can come and see us there, see some stuff, check out their website. I think it's JekyllIslandComicCon.com, if I'm not mistaken.
So Jekyll Comic-Con and Hyde Horror Alley, which is a cool little play on words that they do there, because they encompass both the name of the island and a classic horror, and they do have the horror side along with the fandom side. So yeah, it's pretty good. And Jekyll Island's actually a nice little island. It's very, very serene down there.
It should be like a lot of places to take some pictures and explore. I expect to see cosplayers crawling all over the island.
Oh yeah,
looking for that place to take a shot. And I might look for some good spots to take some pictures myself.
There's plenty.
I'm getting into the nature stuff, at least sunsets and clouds these days. But let's see. Shell, the people that make oil and gas, have designed a super efficient, super streamlined, really cool looking rig to pull freight called the Starship. And
It kind of looks like a Starship shuttle,
looks
actually.
like a bullet train.
Yeah, I mean it is super streamlined, and I actually looked at the specs the same time that you did, and you know, it's a step forward without going total Tesla, which is in a shambles right now.
Right.
I still doubt the validity of using that many batteries in a big rig setup and not using or the minimal amount of power usage that they're touting.
The thing is, these use regular diesel, but
Yeah.
they're so streamlined and they work so efficiently. Well, let's just get into some of the data. They're rated. First of all, it looks really cool. Okay, we can get past that. They're rated at 178.4 ton miles per gallon, and that's 2.5 times more than the average of 72 ton miles per gallon. So freight tonnage, miles per gallon efficiency is greater than just miles per gallon because you divide the weight of the shit you're carrying by the work put out by the machine that's burning the gas and how much gas you have. So that's how you test the efficiency. So total average of what's that, ton miles per gallon is or miles per gallon. We're going to go with regular miles per gallon now. Total average 8.94 miles per gallon. But that was just the average of multiple runs through courses where it delivered a payload that's heavier than truck should be carrying, first of all. And its highest run was 10.2 miles per gallon. That's worth mentioning because you could have a good day some days on those trucks. So that'd be a 60% reduction in CO2 tonnage if I think they said like 2/3 of the trucks out there could be converted over or replaced by Starship.
Now, mind you, yes, this is still burning diesel, but it's a viable fuel source, and
it's using a lot less.
I mean, the technology is still evolving. Yes, we still have the issue of carbon dioxide and whatnot, but with the advent of automakers going the electric car route, and cars are completely different than trucks because we're talking about heavy freight haulers here. This is the lifeblood of any country, not just the United States or North America, but all over the world. You know, you've got heavy freight and people need deliveries, and you can't rely on a battery to just not give out at any certain time because it's a piece of electronic equipment. I don't care how many safety checks and sensors and whatever else you put on it. A battery is still, gonna go out when you least expect it. Now, an engine will break down as well if you don't take care of it, but there's usually warning signs when something like that's about to happen. And, not only that, but diesel is a proven fuel as far as like heavy hauling.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like this idea and I like where they're going because Shell, I mean, every oil company has a checkered past. You can go down the list and you can find some kind of disaster or something else that they have that has
very nasty
that they have all been guilty of at some point in history in the history of drilling oil. I'm not discounting that, but they are also taking steps and finding alternative fuels and alternative ways to do things. But you still got in the process. You still have to keep the wheels turning.
I think if they could
for all this to happen.
Let's shift our concentration from so many oil products to making everybody buy our trucks.
Well, not only that. Well, like I said, everything has to keep moving and keep going for all this to take place. You can't just automatically stop and think that everything's just going to keep going.
I think these trucks are a good first step.
They are.
Very efficient.
Don't jump completely into batteries.
And they were overloaded too.
Yeah,
they were efficient, more efficient than a truck under a normal load. While doing all this, they were overloaded, carrying pieces of false coral reef that are going to be assembled for Florida to make a reef down there. I guess they need one.
No, reefs are always coming and going, but yeah, the artificial reefs are a big thing right now to bring more variety back closer to shore.
They help the ecosystem, and they help with storms.
Yeah, definitely.
They help to break down storms.
So Going
ahead.
back to the fandom world here, because that was actually a pretty cool piece of little science thing we had that we found out, and that was
For the
that was
science fans.
that's kind of too cool not to share there. Venom come out and or is coming out, I don't know, but we had
Been out 2 days.
yeah, there we go. But the initial reviews and everything, not so hot on it.
The critics do not seem to like it, but fans seem to like it. And for different reasons, I suppose. We have our own review in Nerd Nation magazine by Dave Harlequin. You can check out nerdnationmagazine.com.
And Dave's was actually one of the less than favorable ones.
Yes, he's a comic freak and he loves Spider-Man and Venom, but and Green Lantern and all that. But he gave a pretty level-headed assessment, and his was basically not so good. But he also described that you could have fun watching the movie for a movie's sake, because it's just not so good because it departs from the comic a bit. And I'm the first person to deduct points for that.
Yeah, definitely.
But it looked good, and the acting was good, and so, I mean, they make him a hero. So, Venom was not a hero when he first came on the scene.
Yeah, he was far from it.
Far from it. But so yeah, there's that. I won't want to give any more away about the movie, but I'm probably going to watch it, and I'm probably going to like it.
Just go into it with, suspend the belief that you're actually watching something that's supposed to be part of the Spider-Man universe. And this is a standalone movie that someone has their own interpretation
what
of.
if Venom came down to a different Earth?
Right. So, don't look at it as a piece of comic history, but also, but just a hokey movie.
Yeah. With a good actor in it.
And the same thing, Doctor Who come out, the new Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor come out. And
if you wonder why I'm laughing, there's supposed to only be 12 if you're a real serious fan.
Yes, exactly.
That's not to say that you're fake fans. If you don't know that bit of information, you're not fake. You just haven't been informed.
So that's my belief on it as well, that they should have stopped with 12. But 13, they've really turned it into a train wreck. They have tried to incorporate some sort of aspect of the other 12 Doctors' personalities into her. So not only does this make her schizophrenic to start out with, but it doesn't make for anything entertaining as far as the Doctor Who verse goes, because we know what the previous 12 Doctors were like. We don't want to see a conglomeration of the 12. We want to see something new. But you can't come up with anything like that. The BBC has to come in and this is basically a cash grab for the BBC as far as I'm concerned, because you take her outfit and her personality
and
both.
The TARDIS is gone.
You take her outfit and her personality both, and you try to incorporate some aspect from the other 12 Doctors into it. This stinks of unoriginal thinking and money grab, because you've got a bunch of fans that you didn't expect would like Doctor Who from the get-go when you brought it back with Christopher Eccleston.
I'm sorry, but it was a brutal, heavy-handed push on diversity, and that's just not the way you do it. That's not the way you do it. She should have been her own entity, like Romana,
Yes.
the first female Time Lord
See,
that we run into.
I have absolutely no problem with the Doctor being female at all.
Yeah, I mean, there are female Time Lords. The Doctor
Yes.
has hung out with one before.
So that's not it. It's the fact that the way they've gone about it is what really angers me, is the fact that they cannot come up with a new personality on their own. They have to make her schizophrenic. Almost, to any outward person, you see a person that switches personality aspects.
One might argue
4,
that
5,
they're
6
They're
times.
trying too hard to please everybody, but that's not true either.
See,
we know that's not true.
No, it's not, because that's not pleasing. Even to older fans, it's not pleasing. Older fans want to see a new personality. We don't want to see what has already been done.
Meh.
Yeah, meh.
That's about the way it's coming across too. The new Doctor Who. Meh.
Yeah. You shot yourself in the face, BBC. Admit it.
Well, in uplifting news, a guy I don't even listen to, but I'm thinking about it now. Chance the Rapper donated $1 million to Chicago Mental Health Services. It says Rolling Stone, and he announced this during his second summit for his social works organization.
Nice.
And so he has these summits for social works, and he has an organization that he's created with his profits from his rap career.
That's
And
not bad.
he's also been giving money to schools. Last year, he gave $1 million to, I guess a school district, or as many school districts as he could.
Well, yeah,
Now
because you can't count on a school board to give any money
he's
out.
added 20 more schools, each get $100,000 from him to schools. So that's awesome. If
Yeah, it is.
more celebrities with power would do this sort of thing, more people with power would do this sort of thing, you wouldn't hear from people like Antifa and all these whiny leftists because they'd be getting handled.
Well, not only that, but
Kind
you
of like
would,
what my mom taught me when I was little. If you got more than somebody else, you share it. You don't give it all to them, but you share it if you can. And that's what he's doing. He's giving back. And it probably doesn't even cost him that much of his profit. I don't know how rich he is.
I don't either. I'm not a big rap fan, but I mean that's awesome.
There are people that are that rich.
I mean,
that could do
yeah.
these things and probably feel better about themselves.
I mean, that's awesome that somebody's actually doing that versus, and I'm gonna call out somebody like Jeff Bezos. I don't know his full portfolio. Don't really care. He owns Amazon, so I mean he's richer than God as far as I'm concerned. But it's disturbing that governments and corporate entities alike just trickle shit through the system instead of actually doing any kind of good.
Well, it's
Not or lower educated or lower education is not good. Slave labor is not good. The elimination of workers' rights is not good.
It's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
What it is. That's an intellectual way to put it. It's very complicated, and it's messed up. It's just completely messed up.
There's a bit that George Carlin does that talks about political double talk, and he breaks it down beautifully.
Soft language.
I would highly recommend pulling up some Carlin bits, especially on political language and discourse, and just listen to the man.
Speaking of heroes, I like George Carlin, but I also like Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh yeah, wrestling.
And I was this isn't really wrestling news. I was just like, I have a lot of wrestling stuff come in on my Twitter, and I saw at Jerry Lawler pimping at Trauma_team and at Dynamite Comics, all one word.
This would be Dynamite Comics and Trauma Films.
The Art of Trauma Experience. The Art of the Trauma Experience. It's a Kickstarter they've started so that they could put together this book. I guess it would be a good coffee table book if you're like us, about behind the scenes from all these trauma movies and
dude,
trauma
I would
projects.
leave that sitting out for everyone to look at.
And probably like design ideas for characters and stuff. The Art
My
of the
God.
Trauma Experience. And I looked that up. So, and that took
Also,
me, I also went to trauma.com because I haven't been there in a while.
yeah, I was about to mention this.
Oh, go ahead and tell
Okay,
them.
well, Trauma has their own channel pretty much. Trauma X what?
Well, VHX.
Trauma VHX, $4.99 a month, unlimited trauma streaming of the entire trauma library.
And
Now,
adding to the library all the time.
if you're trauma addicts like we are, and you love going and talking to Lloyd or even the girls at the table at any convention that they have ever been at, or if you've ever been involved in anything trauma-esque, even if it's sitting in a giant theater and watching every trauma movie at a con all night long, you need to do this. Support trauma. Support this new venture that Lloyd's doing. He's keeping independent film alive.
Almost single-handedly.
$4.99 a month, $5 a month. Come on. I mean, $5 a month is nothing. You spend more of that on coffee.
You'll get some laughs. It'll be worth the laughs.
Trauma is beautiful. Everyone needs trauma in their lives.
I've gotten his autograph so many times and lost it.
I've hung out with Lloyd I don't know how many times at
Taking
Dragon Con.
pictures with him.
The man probably doesn't remember me, and I don't care.
Lost it. I'm lucky I got a book autographed by him. All I needed to know about filmmaking I learned from The Toxic Avenger.
There you go.
It is a good book, and I kept that at least.
That's actually a very good book. If you're a filmmaker starting out, then you need to find a copy of that book and read it, because Lloyd breaks it down for you in common sense.
It's just all I needed to know about filmmaking I learned from The Toxic Avenger. It's about when he had ultra low budgets and how he got through things.
Yeah. So I mean, Lloyd is telling you
And
what
it's
you
funny.
need. Yeah, Lloyd is telling you what you need to do if you're wanting to get into the industry like he did, or if you're just wanting to get into it. Period.
Yeah, it's not a manual. It's a biographical.
But you can use it
Yeah.
as a manual if
Yeah.
you read it the right way.
You certainly can. You certainly can. It's not boring at all. It's not a boring book. Well, that about does it for this episode.
Yeah, we're getting a red light here. I think they're about to vent this room for a minute.
Yeah, they're gonna bring in some cloudy stuff from outside. We don't want to breathe.
Yeah, that's not good.
So we're gonna shuffle on off and go down to the entertainment suite and relax.
Take it easy till next time.
Navigate the internet safely. We'll see you later.